That was my worst one because the song did a different thing. It was a new thing. No.
Was that a sneaky message from Q or something?
Yeah, no, look, Q's there. What he does is he tries to help us out. If you don't want to be fucking helped out, and you want babies have their adrenal glands eaten, then shame on you. Shame on you. Now, sure, Q hasn't come through with any of the things that said would happen.
Right.
There was going to be they were going to be arrested one day, and that day came and went, and they went, oh, okay, well, we have to. I wonder who was the person who invented Q, who was just sitting there going, and whether they're sitting at home going, you just got a bit out of hand. Just having a bit of a laugh on the internet.
That's what I hope it is, not just a crazy person on the other side.
What, do you think Q's real?
No, but it could be a guy who thinks he's actually predicting stuff.
We did a thing on conspiracy theories. I interviewed some people on the Jim Jeffrey show about Q, and somebody wrote to me recently and went, I've just lost all respect for you. Don't you understand that Q's trying to save the world? Like I was just trying to let it melt to the fucking ground because I wasn't queuing up.
That's when they lost respect for you, by the way?
Yeah. And they're just like, oh, I've had it with this person.
Up till now, I was right on board with everything you said.
And then you don't trust the Q. Yeah, what do we got for us this week, Jack?
Comment World.
Comment World, it's Comment World. Jack, don't proofread in Comment World. Comment World, insults are hurled, whether at Forrest or that other girl. And Jim will shit on you if you're getting too mean. Let's all play nice, let's keep it PC. Comment World, Comment World. 5 stars only in Comment World.
Yeah, they figured out our system.
That song was made by Kyle Mocha, spelled Moucha. You can go check out his YouTube channel. Kyle Mocha Won't Shut Up. Where he makes other music.
Kyle Mocha.
Yeah.
I ordered a Kyle Mocha the other day.
Yeah, grande.
I'm going to start us off with some compliments to make us feel good.
Mm-hmm.
First one. It's with music signs. It's
music signs? You mean inverted commas? Do you call them music signs?
No,
you mean like notes?
Music notes.
The music
half
notes,
but they're emojis.
Oh, so you meant to sing this comment?
Yeah.
Okay.
The best part of waking up, Jim Jeffries in your cup.
It's from Folgers.
Yep.
The Folgers ad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was in the cup.
And that was that.
I guess they watch it in the morning.
Yeah.
That was your comment that you found? Okay.
Well, it's a nice one.
Yeah, it is a nice one. Yeah. Best part of waking up is Jim's left your house with a small note.
One person says, most other podcasts get a bit hacky or samey after listening week in, week out, but this format keeps it fresh.
Keeps it fresh, different topic all
Put
the time.
it in the cup.
And you know what's good about the podcast for you? I'm speaking to the people who aren't listening. You know what's wrong with you? You're not listening. Listen to the podcast. You want to know why? Because there's a different topic each week. You know what's good about that? We'll never run out of topics. They might get weaker and weaker as we get along. As you get into like year 7.
And they're going to get oddly more specific. We're
Oh, yeah,
going to have to do
when we're in year 10 and we're just like this. Oh, yeah, I guess there wasn't always doorknobs, was there? They used to just push doors, didn't they?
There weren't even doors.
Yeah.
This is a 5-star review. Starts off, I love this. Nearly every episode, I end up buying a new book. Not gonna lie, I have a low-key crush on Aaron Brockovich now. Jim, I can't wait to see you again on your next tour.
I have a bit of crush on Erin as well.
Yeah, she's gorgeous.
I have a bit of thing. She's my grandmother of choice, Aaron Brockovich. I don't mean that.
What
in a
about
nasty
Heidi,
way.
though? You liked Heidi,
Sounds
too.
like it.
Oh, Heidi was sexy as well. Oh, Heidi, what to expect when you're expecting? Yeah, there's a lot of grandmothers I'm into now.
I don't know if they like being called grandmothers, but
What do you mean? What are you meant to call them? They're
women.
They are grandmas.
Yeah,
They're
I know. but
grandmothers,
I feel like
but
that's
it's a category I hadn't gone into.
I feel like that once you're a grandma, but you're still super hot, you like being called grandma because then it makes you feel
I
hotter.
think they like to say it to people. I'm a grandma.
Yeah.
And they're just like,
People
what?
are like, "Wait,
what the
you?"
fuck?
I thought you were 20.
Yeah, what the fuck? And then they proudly say, I had a kid at 12 and my kid had a kid at 12. Boom. Do the maths.
It continues. Kelly, your cheekbones are on point. Forrest, you fox. Why are you hiding that sexy hair?
Same reason I hide my hair. It doesn't look good with earphones on top. When you put the headphones in front, it pushes all around, and it's not a good thing.
And
Although I got to say, Luis's hair, he's been doing the blonde tints, and he's got a little tuft coming out the front at the moment, which is very alluring. He does. Just look at him. He just looks like if you were to paint someone, you'd be like, he's a rascal with a heart of gold.
He is.
And then it ends with, Jack, you're the best part of the show. Thank you.
Well, sounds like you wrote that comment.
Thank you.
By the way, thank you for buying our guest books because we always do like to promote our guests. So if you do buy stuff from them, that makes it nice for them, for them coming on the show. And then also buy our, the stuff from our ads, but also subscribe to our.
Tell your friends.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
tell your friends if you like the podcast.
The
Share
podcast,
our
our
clips.
ratings are going up. But I'm going to be honest with you. We want them higher, and if we do get high when COVID's out, if they get to a certain number, I know the number in my head I need them to get to, and we're not far off, we'll start doing live shows of the podcast. We'll come to a town near you. We'll do a podcast where we'll have a specialist sitting on stage with us when COVID's over.
Mm-hmm.
So 10 years.
Yeah.
But no, please tell your
Doorknobs,
friends.
you say. Doorknobs.
Tell your friends.
Window treatments.
And also our Instagram, IDCat. What is it?
IDCat Podcast.
I never remember the handle for Instagram. IDCat Podcasts. And if you really like it, there's Patreon. So
Yeah, patreon.com/IDCat.
all right, keep
Anyone
going.
listen to the Patreon thing? Do people listen to that?
Yeah.
All right. Good for them.
As with all compliments, there are some suggestions we receive. I'm going to read this one exactly how Lou Bob wrote it. Jim Jeffrey, do something interesting, like put on a fighter jet pilot on the show. Stop showing boring stuff.
Yeah, we should. Well, my nephew is about to be like an Apache helicopter pilot or some shit. He's learning how to do that. And so we'll have him on. He'll go, yeah, we did. Yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah, it goes up and
And
comes
I
back
go to Jim
down.
and I go, so what happened to your flight? He goes, yeah, you fly it around, shoot a few things. It's like, there's a thing about these things where when you go, do something interesting like a fighter jet pilot. You're not going to be sitting in a fighter jet plane.
That to me, that doesn't seem
That doesn't seem
nearly as
anything-
interesting as the
like-
things that affect my life
like,
daily.
You reckon this guy's going to be sitting at home going, mock what? Woo, baby!
We'll just have sound effects.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, you must enjoy this. Forrest, I'm going to have to bail out. I just spat on my microphone.
Got a bogey at 12 o'clock.
No!
Goose.
There you go. That guy would have gone, that was fun.
Yeah.
See, I was right.
That was your podcast.
This relates back to what we said in another podcast. There actually is another country where Coca-Cola is outsold. It's Peru, and the number one there is
Inca
called
Cola.
Inca Cola.
Inca Cola. Inca Cola.
It's got an amazing bubblegum / lemongrassy flavor, and I'm sure it's easily found in LA. I guess they felt it was all right to name their cola after the Inca since they're all dead.
That's what I always think. Whenever I'm eating Thai food and they've got a lot of lemongrass, I go, this is missing something. Bubblegum. It's got a lovely, when did you ever say this? It's got a lovely bubblegum lemongrass flavor.
I like it. There's a Peruvian restaurant I eat at that I always get an Inca Cola there. It's Peruvian food. It's very good. Shout out.
All right.
This is
Shout out to
another.
Peru.
Forrest is a
Edit
bit
that out.
of an ads man.
Edit that out.
Yeah, Peruvian food, very good. I put it in my top 10 foods. I will now list them. Starting at 10, Peruvian.
Nah, it's higher.
What's your number one? What's your number one food, Forrest? What's your number one when you go, okay, your all-time cuisine? Can't just be like hamburgers. Cuisine.
It's either Mexican or Japanese. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Japanese is really come up.
Thai.
Thai's a
pretty
big
hip
one.
there.
Thai's a big one. Italian?
No, Italian's not.
Italian's up there.
I
for
like
me.
Italian, but it's probably like 6, 7 down there. 8. I like it, but I'm like, I don't think about it all the time. I think about tacos and sushi a lot. That's
Yeah,
what
I
I think
love
about.
tacos.
So,
He
yeah.
does think about sushi a lot. Sometimes when you see Forrest sleeping and he's twitching a little bit, he's dreaming of sushi. Yeah. He's just like this, raw fish. He's dreaming again. Let him rest.
This is another review we got, but there aren't any stars, so they didn't rate us yet from Plaid Nation.
All right.
Read Disney. I write Disney fan fiction, so I'm writing this before listening to it, just preparing for the possibility that you all suck.
How does he know this episode's coming?
No, it's already out.
This
It's
is a
already
Disney
out.
episode.
Just read the
that you,
title and-
responded.
Oh, that makes more sense.
But why write a review that's not a review before you?
And he writes Disney fan fiction?
He writes Disney fan fiction, or she.
Is this stuff where it's like, and then Ariel started going down on
Yeah.
Jasmine? Is it
Yeah.
that type of stuff?
Probably it's gonna be some shit I'm gonna have to read on the
Yeah.
Patreon.
Yeah, do that. Send that in.
Ooh,
Send in
that's
some
good,
Disney
yeah.
porn.
Yeah.
Yeah, Disney fanfic page.
And then the beast fucked Ariel's porthole. I assume she has a porthole.
Someone said
Whole new hole.
Kelly is by far the smartest person in this group.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't think that's
I agree
true
that
at all.
you're the savviest. Forrest is the most educated, and I'm me.
And I have a computer.
Yeah, yeah. And then I beat Jack, and I'm a moron.
I'm a mega moron.
Yeah. I surprise myself how stupid I am every day.
This is a compliment to Forrest. He says, Forrest looking like he paid the toll to get swole. A muscle emoji. Either that or he's wearing his little brother's t-shirt. JK, get it. Gotta hustle for your muscle.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thoughts?
Eat a lot of food.
yeah, that guy sounds like a white kid who works at Walmart, who upsets a few different
Yeah.
nationalities along the way by the way he talks.
Yeah, he's
I know
hooked
the
up with a
type.
Tiger King.
Yeah. He's from Sydney. He's like Tiger King. Did you see that? Did you see that was
Yeah.
the big thing that Trump pardoned over 100 people?
Yeah.
Trump was just pardoning like friends of his, like
Yeah.
just
Lil
like,
Wayne.
just like what did Lil Wayne get pardoned
Yeah,
for?
yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
He
I,
had some new charge, and he
Yeah.
pardoned him. Yeah.
Yeah, they just what's going on? Anyway, the Tiger King didn't get pardoned. He
Yeah,
thought
they had a limo waiting for him.
yeah,
His
he
friends.
thought he was ready to go.
I don't know why he thought Trump would like the Tiger King, but he's
Buddy
like,
Carol Baskin is doing the Trump passes me. I'm gonna fucking kill that bitch Carol Baskin. Fucking Trump. And now he's just like, Biden's a good fella, isn't he? Come on, Biden.
Could use that
Pardon
pardon.
me, Biden.
Lil Wayne has had a charge in a gun possession case, but he celebrates his pardon with a new song, "Ain't Got Time."
That's nice.
Oh, yeah.
okay,
Good for him.
already
Yeah,
made a
yeah,
song. Quick.
Someone commented, empty hope board. TBH, I laughed up my coffee and then felt sorry for Jack.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, as it goes.
Well, signed, Mrs. Hackett. That was I did a joke the other day. There was something that they were filling out a form. I know. Can I say the joke, Jack, about Wendy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it was your brother. Your brother was filling out something for Jack, and I was driving along, and he needed to know Jack's mother's
Oh, yeah.
name to fill his form in. And like, you know, when you send a text to someone, you write a joke that's a bit off color,
Yeah.
and then they don't respond,
Oh god.
because he goes, "What's Jack's mother's name?" And I go, "Wendy." At least that was the name she gave me in the morning, right? That was the big joke, implying that I'd had sex with Jack's mother, and then nothing came back. And
No,
and then
Scott responds, got it.
yeah, he's like, yeah, thanks, got it.
It's like now is not the time for jokes.
And I'm like, oh man, I'm the worst.
I can guarantee he wasn't offended by that.
No, I know
he
wasn't, but-
I think there was just
Just getting the
urgency
information
in the
to get
information.
me signed up for my
I had
COVID
I had this
vaccine.
plumber come out to fix our water system, right? And so he goes, "Can you text me your address, your name, the type of unit that you gave me, the serial number?" So I texted him all the stuff, and I texted him, and then I went, "Can you text me?" Because it came green. You know those idiots that don't have iPhones?
Yeah.
Those people have the green text, and you never know what happens to the text.
Yeah.
It never says delivered, and you're like, I don't know. Was it because was it just a bad number? What's going on
Or
here?
did they block you?
This stupid weird text that's gone green. Anyway, so I sent him, and it was a green text, and then I went, and so I sent a second text. And I go, "Can you please text me back to tell me that you've received this?" Because it was for the booking, the next day. And the guy texts back this, "No."
So you can't text me back, or you
Yeah.
didn't receive this?
Yeah, or you can't text, or this isn't the right number. It turned out it was the wrong number. I was chatting for a while. Yeah.
This is the last one for today. Someone tweeted at Forrest going, You lot laughing at Jack and not with him, frankly makes me feel a bit uncomfortable. It verges on bullying. Hashtag Team Jack. Thanks, Gretchy.
Yeah, her original email went like, "You teasing that loser."
Yeah, there's a lot of words redacted here.
What do they go? I hate when people do that. They go, "It's verging on bullying." What a lot of rubbish. It's bullying.
Call it what it is.
Yeah, but we're damn happy with it.
Guess I haven't been doing it good enough.
Or as you
Yeah.
said, one person retweeted it.
Somebody retweeted it and somebody liked it. I think it's the same person. Maybe it was like a week later. So I guess it's that hashtag.
That'll be the
there.
best if the bullying gets significantly worse
Yeah.
because of that email. We're like verging on bullying.
I'll tell you
Just
something
backfires.
about Jake. He's at once got a thin skin and too much confidence.
Shut up.
Jack, are we bullying you?
I don't know.
I don't know. You feel like
I'll ask you again. Are we bullying
He
you?
can't hear you. His head's in a toilet.
No, sir.
Answer right now,
Yeah.
or you're going to
Hey,
get the
Jake,
old
come
knuckle
over here and
sandwich.
pull that underwear from outside your crack. Be wedgie yourself and answer me honestly. Imagine if that's what we did to him when he came in. We wedgied him. I think I was too young for the wedgie. I think the wedgie became popular in society just about a year after I finished school. It was about 1993 where the wedgie became like a thing, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Sounds like a good episode.
yeah. Oh, the wedgie.
Wedgies.
If you're a specialist in wedgies, if you can like get us some like maybe a police report where they said you bullied too much.
Yeah.
My brother Grant, when we lived in Canada, got a ton of wedgies.
Oh, maybe we can. Was he
Atomic wedgies.
a
too.
jet fighter pilot though?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then we got him. There's an episode.
Wait, did he actually get an atomic wedgie where the underwear got put on his head?
Yeah, they would like rip. They would pull so hard that it would just rip the
Oh,
underwear.
shit.
He used to like pre-rip his underwear before school so that it was easier. And then they also at one point tied him to the flagpole. They also tied him to a skateboard and sent him down a hill.
What the fuck?
Yeah, Canada
like a
was like a rough
movie.
couple of years for us.
Jesus.
Where were you living?
Like an hour outside of Toronto.
The
Oh.
Canadians?
Yeah,
The friendly.
I got
people on
bullied
Earth?
so badly
Thanks
when
for
I
all
was
the good ideas. Can
in
you say
there.
those again so I can do this to Jack?
No,
Kick
but
him down the
so
stairs.
they're
on the
just like,
The
skateboard.
last time I bring a
Okay.
skateboard to work.
Okay, we're the friendliest, most polite people in the world. Let's give this fella an atomic wedgie,
Yeah.
eh?
No,
Not when
they-
their hockey teams
they were
lose.
brutal.
Gee,
I got bullied so like I had a USA ski team jacket. I was a swimmer and I got it for
What-
Christmas.
Why did you wear that?
And
What were you thinking?
I got it for Christmas and it was like a parka. It was a really warm jacket. So for after swim team practice when your hair is wet and all that stuff, and I got out of practice and the jacket was just lying in a puddle of water because I just got bullied for being American.
Right, but do you know that was put in a puddle of water, or maybe an ice sculpture was wearing it for a while?
Yeah. Maybe there was somebody that needed to walk across the puddle and then they threw it down to be a gentleman.
Yeah,
I hadn't thought about the ice sculpture wearing my jacket. That is a good point.
yeah,
So many possibilities. Just jump to bullying.
yeah. You just jumped to Canadian bullying. Fucking Canadian.
Something that's never
bullies.
been documented before.
Hey, don't give her any maple syrup, eh? tell her we've all run out.
All right. That's it, right,
That's
Jack?
it.
Time to read some ads?
I had time.
Okay.
Is there something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals? Is there?
Yes.
Yeah.
I got a false positive the other day. I got diagnosed with anorexia.
No symptoms.
BetterHelp will assist your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. Now, this is therapist. I'm a big fan of the therapy. Therapy has gotten me through a lot of tough times in life. You can start communicating in under 48 hours, and especially with COVID, you're sitting at home, you think, some of the times when I've been really depressed, the problem has been, I just can't get my ass into gear to go to the therapist.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? But zooming in, talking to people, it's not a crisis line, it's not a self-help, it's professional counseling done securely online. There is a broad range of expertise available, which may not be locally available in all areas. Let's say you're in an outpost in Alaska and you're like, oh, I think I might have some of that seasonal disorder. Can't get to the therapist, or the one you've got is just fucking Trevor, the Alaskan therapist. You don't want to go to him. He's fucking shit. He
Yeah.
slept with your wife because she's the only other person in town, right?
Mhm.
You don't want to go to that one. Bloody get on to BetterHelp. Get on to BetterHelp. The service is available worldwide. All right, pick your language. No, you don't want to fall into the mistake I did. That Chinese lady didn't help me at all. You can log into your account anytime and send a message to your counselor. So even in those desperate times, it's not like an hourly thing where you go, oh, I'm going to see him next week. If you're panicking or something, send a message. You'll get timely and thoughtful responses. Plus, you could schedule weekly videos or phone sessions. So you won't ever have to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room as a traditional therapy. Because the other one, you get into the waiting room, you see all the other people going, oh, yeah, what's wrong with that bloke?
Yeah.
What's wrong with this one? And you press a button and then they call you in and you're out of your element. I do my therapy right now from bed, which is also where I do my 3 meals. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches so they make it easy and free to change counselors if needed. You're not stuck in with the same counselor. If you don't like them, pick another one. It's more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available. BetterHelp wants you to start living a happier life today. Visit betterhelp.com/IDK. That's BetterHelp, H-E-L-P, and join the over 1 million people who have taken advantage and changed their mental health, and with the help of an experienced professional. I also need someone to help me with my reading.
Different ad.
In fact, so many people have used BetterHelp that they are recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. That's all 50 states in America, not 50 states of your mind.
What are they doing?
They're
They're recruiting
additional
additional
Recruiting.
counselors.
They're
So also,
recruiting.
if you need a job and you're a therapist, maybe reach out to BetterHelp.
BetterHelp has a special offer for IDCAT listeners. Get 10% off your first month, not just one session, your first month at betterhelp.com/IDK. We all shop online, except my father. My dad's never bought a single. He still uses the shops like a moron. If he needs underwear or socks, he goes down and buys them. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Go to Mac Weldon, don't you? But you all shop online, and we've all seen that promo code field taunt us at checkout. But thanks to Honey, ooh, Honey, it's got a code, Thanks to Honey, manually searching for coupon codes is a thing of the past. Honey is the free browser extension that scores the internet for promo codes scores. I'm scoring all over the place for promo codes and applies the best one, and it finds it to your cart. Right?
Huh.
Honey supports over 30,000. I didn't know there was that many stores. Supports over 30,000 stores online. They range from sites that have tech and gambling products to popular fashion brands and even food delivery. Imagine you're shopping on one of your favorite sites. Everyone do that. Just take a second.
Are you trying to figure out what you would buy on a porn site?
I forgot my fans only password. Your favorite sites. When you check out, the Honey button drops down, and all you have to do is click apply coupons. That's all you got to do. It'll already find it for you. You're already getting discounts. Wait a few seconds as Honey search for coupons it can find for that site. If Honey finds a working coupon, you'll watch the prices drop. You'll just see them drop in front of you. What did Honey save you money on? What could it save you money on?
So I've used it for a long time, and it's fucking great because normally I would search for promo codes just to find anything off, but now literally with this extension, once you go to the checkout, it'll just scan through all of the available promo codes and then find the greatest.
Yeah, I'm joining it right now.
It's
because
so good.
Every time there's always like promo code, and I always try to think I'm like going to be cool, and I'm like, let me search the internet.
Yeah.
And then I do it, and then it's some code, and it's like from
And
10
it's
years ago,
expired, yeah.
and it's some jackass that wants you. Yeah, I just signed
This
up
is
right
just
now.
like, if you're not using this, you're wasting money
I just
because
did
I
it.
always save money with this, and that sounds bullshit, but it's true.
I'm going to join up as well. Ironically, I want to buy some honey.
I bet you can
let's
find
see.
some.
I bet you there's a honey discount for some honey. Honey has found it's over 17 million members. It's 17 million members. There's a lot of people taking advantage of honey. They've saved over $2 billion in savings. $2 billion in your back pocket, not in theirs. Someone do the maths. What's 2 billion divided by 17 million? Quickly.
It's a lot.
I don't know.
All right, they've saved some cash. If you don't already have honey, you could be straight up missing out on free savings, and it's literally free to install in a few seconds. And by getting it, you'll be doing yourself a favor and supporting this podcast. And we need your support or the podcast dies. Without honey, we die. Get honey for free at joinhoney.com/IDK. That stands for I don't know. That's joinhoney.com/IDK. We thank you, honey. Thanks, honey.
All right. Now, please welcome to the show our guest, Alice Roberts.
G'day, Alice Roberts. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very good. I love having British guests on. I'm a bit of an Anglophile. People don't know this about me. I'm married to one of your lot, a woman and a British person. Yeah. I'm married to an English girl. I'm an Anglophile, although I don't like calling myself anything that ends in the word file.
Yeah.
It's slippery
a little
slope.
dodgy.
Slippery slope. But
It is. And also it means then what about the rest of them? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like your digestive biscuits. I enjoy a bit of Marks and Spencer's. Oh, I have a wonderful time over there. I like drizzly weather. So I'm hoping.
Oh, don't. It's been drizzling from about October, I think. It's just been dire. And last night we've been drizzling, and then it was absolutely biblical last night. It was torrential.
Yeah, but that's good. That's fun. A bit of reason to crack out the umbrella. Because the drizzle, you can't really do anything with. You're like, oh, I've got a goodish coat.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm hoping that your specialty is English things, but I'm going to look in your room and I'm going to judge a book by its cover.
There you go.
Yes,
Sorry.
no. Yes, no. Yes, no. Yes, no. Judging a book by its cover.
Wow.
That was really good, Jim, and I messed it up still.
Yeah.
I was getting into something.
Alice, we have a little jingle there, and we still haven't figured out how to get into it right, and Jim did it perfectly, and I still blew it.
In the distance.
Okay.
All right. So you've got the human skull behind you. Is your expertise in the field of anatomy?
That's it.
Wow.
What?
Yep, that's it. Where's the bam, 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 bam?
That was the first time ever.
It's the first time ever.
Wow, that was pretty good.
Wow.
Yeah,
I guess the skull really would.
No, but there was also I thought I saw the word extinct or something in the background. I thought maybe or exercise. Okay, so it's human anatomy.
That's what
Very
we're talking
good,
about.
Jim.
All right.
Spot on.
Yeah.
Spot on. But
You
this
just
isn't
saved
any
3
old
minutes.
skull.
That's not any old skull. Well, that's
So it's a bit weird, isn't it?
Whose is it?
Bit holy.
that's her twin sisters. Whose skull is that? Is it someone's?
My skull.
It's not your skull. Your skull's in your skull.
Wait.
It's my actual skull.
Oh, it's a replica of your skull. So I was pretty close with twin. I'm on fire.
Yeah. Look at that. It's so weird. So I had an MRI scan done, a very, very detailed, high resolution MRI scan of my head, and they 3D printed my skull.
Wow. Oh,
That's sweet.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah.
I've always thought that when I die, I was thinking, because you know how people give their body parts, and everyone wants to give their skulls to the Shakespearean productions so they can go, to be or not
Wait, people
to be.
really give their skulls?
Yeah, people give their
It's like
skulls.
community theater?
Yeah, to community theaters and
I
like
don't think
Shakespearean
they
thing.
do. I don't think they do.
No, I hear a lot of
You said,
people.
you said everybody's trying to give their skulls.
I'm telling you, those Shakespearean companies, they get too many skulls. They're like, there's enough skulls. We don't want any more skulls. Don't donate your skulls. So I'm
So
going
look, over here in the UK, we have this thing called the Human Tissue Act, which I think it probably expressly forbids people leaving their skulls to theatres.
Not the Shakespeare companies, though.
Someone check that out. Can you donate your skull to Shakespearean people? I think you'll find out. I've heard that a lot.
We got our researchers on it.
I was thinking I might give my skull just to I don't know, the London Comedy Store or something, and just have it just like as an ashtray. Just turn it upside down.
Ooh, that's good in the eye sockets.
Yeah, something like that. I don't want it respected. I don't want it like in a glass case or like sitting or like maybe with the liquor or something like that. But maybe the head of a mop or something just useful.
Yeah.
So
No, I like that.
I want the Damien Hirst treatment. I want my skull encrusted with diamonds.
The diamond encrusted one. Was that Swarovski crystals or the actual diamonds? I think they were real diamonds, weren't they? I don't know.
I think they were. Yeah, I love that.
It doesn't look like you're allowed to give it away here.
You can give it to. You can give.
Oh wait, that's in England and in Wales. So that's what Alice was just talking about. I don't know about the U.S. I think Jack's looking.
You're allowed to give your body to medical schools.
To medical schools,
that.
You can be a cadaver.
And that's kind of,
and this is the Shakespeare School of Medicine.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
They practice. They learn medicine and they do.
You go see a real Shakespearean play, and if they have written on the posters with real skulls, that's like when I remember. Okay, because there's a thing in Britain. We'll get onto anatomy in just a second. There's a thing in Britain that you people Americans don't know about called pantomimes, and it's this tradition that sort of happens at Christmas, and it might be you're doing Jack and the Beanstalk or whatever, and then they have old soap stars, like some soap operas or some reality or old boy band members, and they all go performing it, and then the men dress up as women, which I don't know, today maybe you're not allowed to. I don't know.
A panto's not everywhere.
No, it's purely a British thing. And so, even in Australia, so we don't understand. They don't understand that he's behind you. Oh no, you did.
Yeah.
Oh yes, you did. You can't do those gags with Americans. They don't know what you're going on about.
I've already checked out of this conversation.
My point is, I can always judge a pantomime by the stars they have. Right? They go, oh, that person used to be on EastEnders. That person used to be on Hollyoaks and that type of stuff. And then when you see a poster that goes with real dwarfs and they're doing Snow White, that's a high-end production. They've brought in actual dwarfs and not just kids. I got to see that. Anyway.
I found something about the Shakespeare skull.
Oh, good. Shakespeare skulls.
There's a famous pianist named Andrei Tchaikovsky, and he died in 1982 and gave his skull to the Royal Shakespeare Company, and apparently his skull upstaged all the actors, so they had to stop using it.
Wow.
Maybe I
should give that one.
Yeah, you should give that one.
That one. No, I'm not giving that one. It's mine.
I own Michael Hutchins' one. It's still all crushed up from the belt.
No.
Jesus.
No,
I'm Australian. I'm allowed to say that. He was masturbating.
I don't know about that.
No, we don't know.
That's a good segue. Let me give our guest a proper introduction. So, Alice Roberts. Alice is a medical doctor, so maybe I should say Dr. Roberts. I don't know what you prefer, but and a university lecturer and professor of public engagement with science at the University of Birmingham since 2012. She has written books about the human anatomy, physiology, evolution, archaeology, and history. And some of these books include The Incredible Unlikeliness, The Complete Human Body, The Incredible Human Journey, Tamed, 10 Species That Changed Our World, and The Incredible Unlikeliness of Being. You can, she's holding them all up on the screen.
Oh, yeah, Tamed, yeah.
You can find all of these books on her website. Alice Roberts.
This new one.
Well, that one's good. It's like a Vertigo
The
poster.
Little Book of
It's kind of reflecting.
Humanism?
Humanism.
Yeah.
Cool.
There we go.
Yes.
And her website is alice-roberts.co.uk. We'll have links to that one. So please go if you're interested in any of these books. Go buy them.
So what can I teach Alice right now? Ask me a question.
Well, before we start that, Alice, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to be in this field?
Yeah, basically it's all by mistake. So I should have been a surgeon. That's kind of what I set out to do. And then
that's funny. Surgeon was my fallback job myself. So what do you mean? Completely by mistake. I was supposed to be an astronaut, but what do you mean? It's pretty impressive. You were supposed to be a surgeon. Carry on. Sorry.
I decided aged 11 I was going to be a surgeon, and that was that. And I kind of pursued it all the way through medical school out the other side. It was starting off as a junior doctor with my eyes set on surgery. And then I got completely sidetracked into academia. So I ended up as a university lecturer. I think because I loved the teaching. I did a 6-month job teaching, which is a kind of regular thing to do for trainee surgeons because it helps you brush up your anatomy. So teaching anatomy in the dissection room. So spending, all day in the dissection room, dissecting bodies, teaching, all of that. And then I kind of just stayed it was meant to be 6 months and I stayed for 11 years. So I kind of had to admit to myself that I probably wasn't going to be a surgeon at that point, and I'd kind of just.
There's still time.
You can still be a surgeon. Don't say.
It's a side hustle. Side hustle surgery.
I haven't ruled out myself being one.
No, the trouble is, I think it goes back to A-level physics. So when I did A-level physics, I found out that I was extremely good at taking things apart. Like we had to take apart a toaster, and I identified all of the parts inside this toaster, but I never managed to put it back together again. And so I think it's probably a really good idea that I ended up as an anatomist and not a surgeon, because I'm extremely good at taking bodies apart. You know, that's my superpower. I'm very, very good at dissecting bodies into very tiny pieces.
That would be a good Tinder bio. I'm extremely good at taking bodies apart.
Hey, we fixed your heart. Here's some extra parts. I didn't know what to do with those.
It's like, where does that go?
They wouldn't fit back in.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna ask Jim everything he knows about human anatomy is what we're gonna talk about, anatomy. And it's a very broad subject, so I'm gonna help him along with some questions. I know everybody at home, we're not gonna cover everything. I'm tired of people writing in. We're not gonna get to everything with human anatomy today. We're gonna get to the basics. But
leg bones connected to the.
So at the end of this, Alice, you're gonna grade Jim on his accuracy 0 through 10, 10 being best. Kelly's gonna grade him on confidence. I'm gonna grade him on etc. We'll tally the scores. 21 through 30, you're a bonehead. 11 through 20, cadaver. 0 through 10, skeleton.
I'm going to be really harsh as well, because you know my medical students are doing their exams at the moment, so there has to be parity here.
Yeah, no. Sure, I should be measured the same way as a medical student. Like, not only are you not taking the course, I wasn't smart enough to get into the course, and now I'm meant to be just as good as them on completing the course.
Make sure you put your name at the top of the test.
Yeah.
Well, please be harsh, because a lot of times our guests are very nice to Jim. We don't like it when they're nice to him. Okay. What is anatomy, or what is human anatomy?
It's the different body parts.
That's it.
Yeah. It's all the different parts of your anatomy.
Okay. When did humans start studying anatomy, and like how did they learn about it?
That would have been Korag the caveman.
Korag's back.
Yeah, and he would have been like this. Oh, leg.
How he knew how to say leg?
Yeah, he was the first person to name it.
Okay.
Before that, they were wobbly bits off your middle bit.
And how did they like learn about it? What did they do?
What would have happened is there would have been something with Da Vinci when he did that thing. When Leonardo da Vinci did the anatomy of man, that guy that was standing there like he was on a crucifix type of thing. And then he would have started doing all that stuff, all the measurements where he was going, you know, that measurement that your wrist to your elbow is the size of your foot and stuff like that. And your span is as high as your thing, and sort of maybe the more scientific way of saying how we should all be put together.
Okay. What is a dissection?
A dissection is when you cut something in half and you look at it from a halfway. So the classic one is, when they dissect the brain, they can cut into it, and then you can see like, we have problems here, maybe from smoking or a stroke or whatever, and you can dissect it. The best dissection, like one that's like not actually because I always saw in American movies, you're all fucking dissecting frogs all the time. I know there was like happened in ET, but this is what I thought of American. All you kids were sitting in class, and then one day someone brings in a frog, and you all start getting your scalpels out and cutting into it, and then you're throwing frogs at each other. That's what I thought happened. Never in Australia were we were given a bloody, here's a wombat, kids, go to town. That never happened.
Nobody brought in the frog. They had specially
preserved frogs. I know.
We dissected them.
The school had a bucket of frogs, and they're like, all right. No, we never got given that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That never happened.
I did not like dissecting the frog.
I dissected a lamprey.
Yeah, we were never. We were just never given dead animals in Australia. There was never a reason the school thought give
That's
them a dead
because you guys
animal.
don't understand freedom.
What is a vivisection?
A vivisection is
vivisection.
Oh, a
Vivisection.
section is when you do it really graphically.
Okay.
When you cut into it. I also think like the best, like what was the other one? The one that I said cut in half. That was the dissection. Like so when you we're learning about sex and they gave you that side-on view of the one testicle and the thing going that way. That was like what a dissection sort of looks like. But you can dissect the thing, cut into
Like
it.
I said, the one testicle and the thing going that way, as if it's not. What is that?
The penis.
Oh, okay.
And but they dissect things and they cut in half so to see how it works. The vivisection. Okay, so I'm going to say dissection is when you cut it in half. A vivisection is when you go sideways like that.
Sideways.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of them's horizontal, one of them's vertical.
Okay, I'm going to talk about different systems, and we'll ask you a few questions about each. What is the skeletal system?
The skeletal system is your skeleton.
Okay.
And it's the system of how it works.
Yeah. Jim likes to answer questions with the
word and the
question.
definition.
They don't
Why
name
not?
these things like this for no reason.
Okay. What is it made of? What's the skeletal system?
Made of bone.
Bones. There we
Bones,
go. Okay.
yeah.
How many bones in the human body?
I've been given this number before. I don't know, like 274.
Okay. What's the largest?
Well, for me or for you?
It's not a bone.
I'm
Okay.
going to go the largest bone, what, in length or mass and weight? Because if it's mass and weight, I'm going to say it's the human skull would be the largest one. But, you know, like your forearm or your shin bone, which is connected to the foot bone and the leg bone.
Okay.
Your shin bone would be longer than that of the head. But I would say pound for pound, your skull is the heaviest and biggest.
What's the smallest bone?
There'd be one in your foot.
The big one in your foot.
No, there'd be a little tiny one in your foot that goes between your clavicle and your davicle.
Okay.
Clavicle's right up here.
What is the difference between cartilage and bone?
Cartilage. It's a little known fact for us that sharks are only made of cartilage. They don't have any bone in them.
It's not a little in fact.
Bonus
actually.
hint.
But okay, so cartilage is in between your joints for the most part, and it's sort of the shock absorbers of the human body to make everything sort of move so it doesn't rub bone on bone, so that you can sort of have joints rub against each other.
Okay, so I'm not going to even ask you what the muscular system is because I know you're going to tell me
Well,
it's muscles.
no, it's all the muscles that
Yeah.
join together.
How many muscles do we have?
Many muscles.
Okay, moving on.
Well, I don't know. Can you grow new ones? Because I reckon everyone has all of them. It's just whether they're shit or not. So let me count mine. My six pack.
No,
I got my
hang
six
on.
pack. And I would say there'd be muscles. I would say there'd be 3 times as many muscles as we have bones, because you have to have 4 times as many, because you have to have the muscles around each bone to make things flex and move and stuff like that.
Okay. Do you know what the strongest muscle is in your body?
The brain, the human brain. Oh, for lifting or for lifting things?
Strongest, like, that has the most strength, pounds per square inch, maybe, or like
I would
lift, whatever you want to say.
I would say your thighs.
Thigh
Yeah,
muscle.
One of your thigh muscles.
Do you know what a tendon is?
Yeah. It's someone that lives in your apartment. You pays your rent.
Yeah, very strong.
No, a tendon is like a little bit of it's like stretchy. It's like a muscle, but it's like a stretchy bit. A tendon, it's like when they get Tommy John surgery, they cut a tendon out of your ass to put it in your elbow. So I think like a tendon is like when you can tear a tendon. They're no good, but they're things that help flex and stretch and stuff.
Yeah. What's the largest organ?
The largest organ in the human body is your skin.
Damn.
Yeah.
Do you know what system your skin is part of?
Your skeletal muscular system.
Both those systems?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's working in conjunction.
It's a bone muscle.
All right. I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions here about different systems. We'll kind of go through them. So let's see. Respiratory system. Name some components.
The lungs,
Anything else?
clavicle.
What about the clavicle?
No, there'd be the lungs. There'd be the esophagus.
Uh-huh.
There'd be the throat tube. There'd be the dangly punching bag at the back of your throat. that probably gets involved.
Do you know the difference between the pharynx and a larynx?
Oh, a larynx and okay, your larynx. I've had that is where you get laryngitis, is where your vocal cords are, and I've had nodules and I've had swollen larynx before. So
pharynx.
So pharynx is I don't know what I've never heard of pharynx, but I know what your larynx is.
Okay. Digestive system. We just talked about this on
Yeah.
another podcast. Can you name anything from the digestive system?
The intestine, the lower colon.
Uh-huh.
I've gone creepy. So it goes to about 6 meters. You know, it stretches
6 meters long.
6 meters long.
What does your gallbladder do?
I don't know. I feel like it just gets in the way. I feel like
Yours does,
I
mate.
feel like gallbladder, prostate, and spleen can all fuck off. I don't know.
Gallbladder, prostate, and spleen can fuck off.
I don't know if anyone's ever gone, oh, thank God my spleen's in good nick. Like my mate was in a car accident and they removed his spleen and he's much healthier than me. He's spleenless and no he's never gone, oh, I can't do it. I don't have a spleen. Can't get on this roller coaster. I don't have a spleen. No, he's fine. So you don't need the spleen.
So
useless.
you should get rid of your spleen.
The spleen is meant to help other organs, but who gives a fuck? You know what I mean?
My organs are fine on their own.
Yeah, because you can live with like one kidney and stuff like that. It's there's a few bad design faults, like the idea of the throat and the wind. You talk about this.
Two-hole system.
I'll
get into that. Yeah,
I think a flap. That's no good.
We shouldn't breathe and eat out of the same hole. I'm all for it. I think that's
things, and also there's nothing.
Dolphins, whales, better system.
There's nothing worse than you're having a drink and something's gone down your windpipe, and it's like that you've got a painful thing coming in about 4 seconds.
Yeah.
And you keep drinking in the regular hole going, fuck, I'm going to have to cough and look like an idiot.
That's a bad system. I agree with you.
And I'm going to have to go, I went down the wrong way.
Yeah, that's a bad system. I also think babies coming out of a vagina, too small.
The vagina too small.
Submarine hatch door.
I'll tell you I'll tell you another one, Alice. I'll tell you another one. The vagina, wrongly located on the human body, shouldn't be there. It should be up near the shoulder. Right, far away. It shouldn't be right next to the arsehole, I'll tell you that much. The two of them don't get along and they infect each other on the regular. You spoon a lady, your dick gets a bit near her ass, and then you go to put it in the vagina and she's just like, oh, well, that's my month ruined. And you're like, what did I do? I was just laying here. Those things should be very separate.
Okay, let's talk about cardiovascular system.
Cardiovascular, that's got to do with your heart, and that's pumping blood throughout your body. That's the cardiovascular. It's arteries and veins.
Yeah, what's a vein? What does a vein do?
A vein carries blood to other parts of the body. An artery, basically
one goes to the heart and one goes away from the heart.
I'll go the artery, because if you cut an artery, your blood starts pumping out. So I say arteries go away from the blood. But I always thought that arteries were like your highways and your freeways, and veins were just like your side streets,
surface streets.
Yeah, and like you cut an artery, it's like, oh no, you've ruined the 101.
Vein, no problem.
No, vein is bad. You don't want to cut a vein, but it's not as bad as cutting an artery.
And what about capillaries?
Capillaries are little things that we're back in the day.
Alleys?
Yeah. You pinch your cheeks, and if you can make your capillaries, because real women, this is back in Jane Austen's day. This isn't me that's saying this. Real women pinch, whores use rouge. That was the big one from the day. That's your country said that, Alice. Don't look all shocked at me. Like in Jane Austen, they used to pinch and pinch so that the capillaries would break. Where I and many relatives of my family have done that just through alcohol, the old-fashioned way of ruining a capillary.
We have so many things there. So I'm gonna ask you a few more questions, and then we can kind of go over stuff together. So we're not just leaving else.
I think I'm doing better and worse than I thought I'd do.
It's a little bit of both.
We'll get to how long. How long do you think all the blood vessels are in the human body? Like if you
if you stretched all of them. You stretched all of them together. Oh, I reckon that would be 20 meters.
20 meters. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know what the lymphatic system does?
It's the system that's certain about everything.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah, it's like I'm lymphatic about this.
What's the lymphatic system do then?
Is it got to do with lymph nodes and stuff like that? These are like little things.
Lymph what?
Yeah.
Lymph nodes.
No, nodes?
Lymph nodes.
Yeah, the noid was the thing from Domino's Pizza that I don't know if you even had in Australia.
No, I've seen references to him in TV shows.
Okay.
The lymph nodes.
Avoid the noid.
They can become cancerous. And I have there's a lot of them under your ears and stuff like that and around your
Everything
neck.
can become cancerous, just so you know.
Yeah, underneath your neck and all that type of stuff. It's no good.
Okay.
No good.
Let's move on. Let me ask a couple more questions.
The lymph nodes are they just can't get enough nodes.
We can't get to everything, so I'm gonna jump here, and then we'll get Alice. Do you prefer Alice or Dr. Roberts, or just so I'm not being rude?
It's Professor Roberts actually, but
Oh,
yeah.
oh damn.
Professor Roberts.
Yeah, Professor. I'd
That's
say
what I'm going to call
Professor.
you.
Yeah, that's
I'm going
much
to call
better.
you Professor Roberts. Sorry.
But you can call me Alice.
Professor Alice? Can I call you Professor Alice?
No, just Alice.
yeah.
I like
Get carried
Professor
away.
Alice, though. I like that one.
Okay, Jim, how many?
If I was called Professor, I would not be. I would like my children would be calling me Professor.
What is a plane in reference to a body?
It's higher up. What do you mean? What do you mean a plane?
Like body planes. Do you understand? Do you know anything about that?
No, not really.
Okay,
I've met some people with some pretty plain bodies.
Let me- One last question. How many body cavities can you name?
All right, all day. Do I need the technical term or the slang?
Just whatever you think.
The pee hole?
Wait, the pee hole?
That's the
Yeah, the
technical term.
urethra.
Okay.
Urethra. It's
It's
like the
Aretha
Antifa.
Franklin?
Antifa for urine.
and that's on the man. The women obviously have the vaginal hole. Plus, they have the little hole that they pee out of called pee hole. That's
These are holes.
yeah, all holes, orifices. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
not really a cavity.
I was
Yeah.
talking about cavities. But
Oh, cavities. Now we'll do all the holes first.
Not even one of the questions.
You got your asshole.
yeah.
You got your two nose holes.
Yeah, what are they? Nose holes?
Yeah, nose holes, nostrils.
Yeah.
And then you got your ear holes.
Mm-hmm.
Your ear holes. It's two ear holes, two nose holes, an asshole, a pee hole, a vaginal hole. That's all your mouth hole.
Pie hole.
That's a big one. Your mouth hole. That's a good one.
Called the pie hole.
That's all the one. Now, what was your question?
All right.
No, tell me, I might know cavities.
Professor Roberts.
When they do a cavity search, they search the holes. I think it's the same thing.
That's true.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what they're saying. We're going to do a cavity search. They search the holes. I think a cavity is a hole. I think you're trying to fool
Have
me.
you ever heard the term chest cavity?
Okay, but when they go, you've got a cavity, what are they talking about? When the dentist is in
Yeah,
there?
no, it's a hole.
It's a hole.
Yeah.
Another hole.
Professor Roberts, on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the best, how did Jim do in his knowledge of human anatomy?
Oh, do you know, it's so hard to grade him because I would have said that there's really good knowledge there of broad concepts, but somewhat lacking in detail. So, probably 5.
Yeah, it's all right.
Okay.
It's all right. I
Not
never,
bad.
I never said I
Not
knew much
bad.
about the
Yeah.
human anatomy. I'm pretty happy with that.
So you asked what is anatomy, and you said different parts, and it kind of is, but I suppose strictly speaking, the word anatomy means cutting up.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, we
Does
have we,
literally
we have to grade him on 2 other things here that don't really matter before we get to that. So
I think I'm going to give him a 6 on confidence.
6 on confidence.
Oh.
I'm gonna give you a -2 on et cetera. You're skeleton.
I don't know.
Because I like saying that word. So anatomy. What does he mean? You just said what anatomy. What does it mean then? It means to.
It means
cut
cutting up. So the tone bit means cutting, and ana means apart. So it means cutting apart. So it literally is kind of dividing up the human. But you said, I mean, different. It is cutting the body into parts. So you're right,
Oh, but
really.
that's what it
When
means.
did it start?
Wow.
You said cavemen. I wouldn't use the term cavemen, but I would certainly say
What is that? No,
Paleolithic.
what is that not appropriate anymore? You can't call them cavemen? Do they get offended?
It's difficult. I find it difficult because it wasn't just men. And also because they didn't live in caves. So it kind of doesn't really work on any level. So
You're telling me there wasn't
just-
one? Where did they? One of them would have lived in a cave. That's where their bloody paintings are. They just go
may
there to
have
do
gone
art.
into they were they may have gone in there occasionally, and occasionally they hung out in there and had hearths in there, but they were mostly living in tents. So they're tent people, they're not cavemen. But I would say yes, anatomy goes back into prehistory. I've just done a radio series about this because I'm a broadcaster as well. So I've just done a history of anatomy radio series, and we started back in prehistory talking about the fact that there's lots of evidence of bodies being taken apart. We're not quite sure why.
Just
There's
for
a really
fun.
weird, there's a really weird skull from Cheddar just down the road from me, Cheddar Gorge, which has got a load of caves in it, which there's quite a lot of bones in those caves. And certainly some of the human bones have been smashed up and look as though they've been cannibalized. But one of the skulls, they've kind of taken the skull and they've just bashed off the bottom of it. And then they're just left with the cranium, so the domed bit. And then they've chipped it very carefully around the edge. So they think they've made it into a bowl. I mean, I don't know what it was. A kind of nice little fruit bowl. Maybe a
yeah,
to drink.
like fruit, but you'd only hold one orange, wouldn't you?
Some grapes. Grapes would be good in there.
Yeah, you could get
Yeah.
Strawberries.
I'd tell you it'd be good for a few Maltesers. You could fill a bowl of Maltesers.
Some hard candy, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Skittles all day.
That's what they're doing. And
I don't know if they had Skittles in the Paleolithic. And then you said, what did you say? Oh, yeah, proper scientific anatomy. Really, we start with Aristotle in the 4th century BCE. You said Leonardo da Vinci. He's one of the best anatomists of all time. So, you get extra marks for him.
yeah,
I mean, he was just awesome. And his drawings of the human body, which never got published. So he was drawing the human body in the late 15th into the 16th century in private notebooks, which got published centuries later. And you look at what he was drawing. I've actually got a little my coaster. Everything is a bit themed in this house. The coaster is a little bit of Leonardo da Vinci there.
Oh, that's one of his drawings.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
He was amazing.
A naked lady.
and they didn't get published. Why? Because back then, I remember reading a book of Michelangelo, and he would secretly dissect or like look at human bodies too to learn. But that was illegal, I guess, right? Or is that?
No, it was legal. There was a moratorium on human dissection since Herophilus in Alexandria in Egypt in the 4th into the 3rd century BC, and then you couldn't do it for more than 1,000 years. And then in the Renaissance, they started doing it again, and that was basically because they had medical schools, and they recognised that in order to teach doctors, you had to do anatomy. So people were artists were dissecting and learning about the body and using that for the basis of their paintings, but also there were famous anatomists during the Renaissance as well, and famous surgeons.
Can I ask you a personal question? This is a personal work question. What do you most enjoy cutting into? A, big fat men. Like men, women, children. I don't know. Like, what is your favorite thing to cut into? Like as a person,
Live cats.
Yeah, where you go. Oh, we've got one of them coming in. Ah.
Well, actually, so going back to the original ambition to be a surgeon, I wanted to be a pediatric surgeon. So I wanted to be a children's surgeon because I loved the craft of the surgery and the beautiful detail of it. And also the fact that children recover so quickly from surgery, and it was just such a lovely thing to do to operate on a child, and then they would they come in so ill, and you'd operate on them, and then they would be amazingly almost back to normal the next day, to the extent that I was saying stay in bed, you're gonna rip your stitches out if you start jumping on the bed. Stop jumping on the bed. But in terms of the dissection room, you basically don't want to be dissecting fat people. You just end up you're not particularly interested. Fat isn't interesting. It's just not interesting. It's just like yellow custard, and you're just cutting through slightly thicker custard to get what you're interested in. So no.
The next fat person I see, I'm going to walk up to them and go, "You're not interesting."
So dissecting.
It's mean, I know, but
So you're like a nice, lean women or men. Is there a different in skin, like to cut into it? Is there a different texture, or am I just being an idiot saying this?
No, just obviously different bits and bobs in the requisite places. So a lot of similarities. I mean, it's very difficult to. The other specialism of mine is human bones. So I help archaeologists out with looking at bones from archaeological sites and that kind of thing. And it's very hard for most of the bones of the body to tell any difference between men and women. We have the best bet of sexing a skeleton, of telling whether somebody was male or female, looking at the pelvis, obviously, for obvious reasons already mentioned, that there's got to be the potential for a baby to get out through a female pelvis, so it tends to be wider. And then the other bone, which tends to be sexually dimorphic, we say, is the skull. And that is just generally because men tend to be chunkier and more muscled. And anywhere where you've got muscle attachments, like things like this little prong behind the ear on my skull, which is called the mastoid process, that's much larger in a male compared with a female. And also men have these great big, I've got a very smooth back of my head.
Oh, you have a lovely skull.
Bone. It's nice, isn't it?
It's a beautiful skull. It doesn't look lumpy or anything. Smooth.
No, lovely.
Not flat on the top. You couldn't put a beer on top of that.
I don't know.
You could. It's pretty flat.
But men often have a great big a great big prong of bone sticking out there. If you see the back of a man's head, and if he shaved his head, you can see it sticking out really, really prominently. It's called the external occipital protuberance. I do like all the words in anatomy.
This is something with anatomy that's like, do you like name things femurs and all this type of stuff? That's the only one I could think of, right? What's wrong with just calling it leg bone? Your upper leg, your lower leg. Why the technical names? Is it all just named after the people who discovered them or discovered them?
It's basically, some of it is, but we're trying to get away from those, which I think is sad in a way. It's just that the eponymous names, say things like the crypts of Leberkuhn in the intestine or the islets of Langerhans in the pancreas, that's fine. But different countries had fantastic anatomists, and so you'll find that the French have their own name for these various parts because they had fantastic French anatomists who were discovering them around the same time.
Oh, the French are being difficult and not naming it the same as everyone else. When did that ever come along? I've heard that the English, they have a different name for the zumpy dump. They call it the skull, but it's zumpy dump to me.
But most of it goes back to the early anatomists in ancient Greece, and they were obviously naming their things with Greek names. And so those Greek names then come through into Latin. And so most of anatomy is actually Latin. Some of it's Latinized Greek, but it's mostly Latin. So it is, femur just means thigh bone in Latin. That's all it means.
Right.
So it's just, that's when it was first named, and the name is stuck.
But
it actually works really well. It works really well to have an international language of anatomy for medicine, because medicine is so international.
Why
now.
that makes sense that we're all calling it femur. So even in Japan they're calling it a femur.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I didn't know that. I thought they might have had a different word for femur.
That's why when you always say that in America they don't use the metric system, I use the metric system when I used to be a biologist, because that you have to use the metric system because everybody uses Celsius and metric system in the science community.
The metric system is better, isn't it? Much better.
I think so.
Yeah, it is better.
It's a bit
Zero's
simpler.
freezing, 100's boiling.
Except in
Perfect.
England,
Bloody perfect.
in England you guys use miles, right?
Yeah, they still use miles in England.
Oh, we do.
That's
We do.
kinda
Well, we
weird.
kind of use a mixture, actually. It's really confusing.
Which is
now.
also weird because
with
it's such a small place that they go, it's 40 miles away. Oh, the next town is 40 miles. And you're like, oh.
Yeah, here, you're like, you're almost home.
Yeah, you're like, well, yeah, like here it's like, am I going to Disneyland? Well, we're going to another town. Oh, God, I have to go from Liverpool to Manchester. I won't be back for hours, love.
So dissection versus vivisection. I don't know.
well, dissection is just dissection or dissection, however you say it. It is just cutting up again. So I think you got mixed up with bisection. Bisecting things is kind of cutting things in half.
Yeah.
And vivisection.
I'm a disexual. I just like people who are dead.
No.
No, okay, I'll stop with that. I'll stop. Okay, so there's
There's gonna be some rumors after this episode.
Vivisection is cutting up living people. So I suppose surgeons are vivisectionists in a way, but then they put them back together.
I've dated a few of them.
But
some of the early anatomists were vivisectionists, we think. So Herophilus in Alexandria was getting hold of prisoners and kind of cutting them up alive.
So surgeons are vivisectionists, and people who do I might be wrong, and people who do autopsies are dissectionists.
Yeah. They're pathologists. Yeah, because they're looking for pathology. So it tends to be.
You're just going to gloss over the fact that you said people used to cut open like living criminals, like prisoners.
Oh.
Yeah.
You're fine with that?
Well, what crime did they do?
Stole an apple.
Oh, well, you pay the crime, you cut the time.
Okay. Well, all right. We'll just keep going. So skeletal system, Jim said it was the bones, 274 bones in the human body. Biggest bone was the skull, cartilage, so forth. Yeah. How do you do there in that section?
Pretty good. I mean, the skeletal system is the skeleton. So
Nailed that.
Pretty straightforward. It's bone and cartilage. So cartilage is included because cartilage is kind of this structural fabric of the body as well. And there are bits like the front of your rib cage, the ribs stop being bony as you come around to the front, and then the end of them is completely made of cartilage, which is useful because it makes the rib cage flexible. You couldn't do CPR if there weren't costal cartilages.
That's the thing they always fill in with the plastic on the skeleton. That was in. Do you in your office? Do you just have a skeleton? Please tell me you do. I always love when I see one of them, like a full skeleton.
No, I do. I don't. I have got a. I mean, this is my home office, but I have actually got a real skull in a box down there, which is a skull I make. Well, I'm making all my lectures into videos at the moment because we can't do live lectures for students. So I'm here at home endlessly making anatomy videos. But yeah, so that's all I've got at home at the moment is a skull. But in my old office, I used to have all sorts of bits of various humans dotted around the place. You know, a couple of arm bones under the desk, a mummified hand on a shelf.
Do you okay? Are you a fan of the TV show Dexter? No,
not really.
Okay,
no, there are
cool.
there's a lot of anatomy in it.
Yeah, well, he's a serial killer who's actually one of those cops that
He's a blood spatter.
Yeah, he's a blood splatter.
Oh no, I did. Yeah, I did watch a couple of episodes of it. Yeah, it was quite. Yeah, it was quite anatomically correct.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna ask her Bones. There's a show called Bones.
No, I don't know what Bones is. I've never watched Bones.
Yeah,
I thought it was inappropriate to have a small child in the house.
It was, anyways. What's the largest bone?
Well, it depends how you're measuring it, as Jim said. So he's quite right about that. So in terms of volume, I suppose you would say the skull, and probably in terms of weight. I think that's quite interesting. I'm not sure. The femur's definitely the longest bone in the body because that's about 1/2 meter long, and also it's pretty heavy. So it's gonna be quite similar. I don't tend to go around weighing bones. It's not one of those things. I don't go around counting them either. I mean, it's that kind of classic pub quiz question of how many bones have you got in your body? Well, everybody's got a slightly different number.
What?
Because some people have extra little bones in various tendons. Some of us will have various bones in our skull fused. So is that one bone or 2 bones? So it is a very, very difficult question to answer.
So do we know what the smallest bone is then, or no?
Yeah, definitely. And it is in the ear.
It's
an ear bone?
The drum thing. Is it the drum thing?
Yeah. So there's going from the back of your eardrum, there's a sequence of 3 tiny little bones called ossicles, which just means tiny bones. And they're the incus, the malleus, and the stapes. And of all of them, the stapes is the tiniest, and it's absolutely minute. It's a couple of millimeters across, teeny tiny little bone, stirrup shaped.
I know you said there's a different number. Can you give us a ballpark within like 50 of bones? Like, was that close with 270 something, or is it close to
quite close. It's somewhere between 200 and 230. That's going to be the kind of range.
See, they tell you when you're a kid. There was like, I remember it was like 206. They would tell me when I was young, and then, but that does make sense. What you're saying, it's never going to be the exact, fused.
I feel like I'm carrying way more bones than the regular person.
Just knocking around.
Even when I lose weight, people are always surprised by how much I weigh. I think I'm a lot of bone.
So is that the same thing with muscles then? We don't know how many muscles?
Yeah, and there's just a lot of variation in the human body. So, we have 12 pairs of ribs as a standard, but some people have extra ribs down in the lumbar region, and some people have extra little ribs up in their neck as well. So it's, it's all kind of quite variable.
What the fuck is
that? It's really like a snake.
You got lower ribs?
Who's got neck ribs?
I once broke a rib. It was the worst. I was living in London and I was working as a bartender or something like that. I'd drunken too much. I'd passed out on a couch, and then a couple of guys decided to wrestle. And then while I was asleep, a guy just fell into my rib cage, bang, when I was laying on a couch, or pushed over by another bloke, bang, cracked me rib. And I was so drunk, and I walked back, and I was like, oh man, my fucking ribs hurt. And then like one of them just sort of popped out, like the skin pushed right out. I was
God!
No!
Out of the skin?
No, the skin
like you could see it protruding,
like a big lump protruded. And I pushed it back. I went, fuck, and popped it back in. I was like, oh man. And I had to work at the bar the next day. And there's no cast they can give you for that. All you do is you bandage it up, try to keep it tight until they fuse together again. And it's a fucking
rib injuries are horrible. My ribs are almost always dislocated, and it's so painful because like even just breathing is so painful, but there's nothing you can do really.
Yeah, no, you just keep putting them together.
It's really painful. And if you get a cough, cracked rib, ow.
I've had a fractured.
I break my coccyx.
A fractured skull. I had my head bashed into a table, and I fractured my skull in between my eyeballs because they said that was the soft. I knew that's the softest part of the human skull. So even if you get hit on the other side of your head, the fracture will happen there between your eyes, above your nose. For the most
paper
part.
thin bone there.
Yeah.
In fact, it's called the lamina papyracea. It's part of the ethmoid bone between your eyeballs, and it is absolutely paper thin.
And how did you break your coccyx?
I was dancing on a table in London and fell off the table.
I like that. That's how professors roll in England. All your professors are like Stephen Hawking and all these other people. Well, maybe Stephen Hawking's probably not a good. I was about to go like sitting in their chairs, not hurting themselves, in perfect condition.
No, there's always people partying. I broke my coccyx when I broke it on water, jumping off of a very high structure, landing perfectly on the water, which could be at that height is almost like concrete at that point, and I just broke the tip.
And you never worked for the circus again.
And I didn't. At the time, we had been drinking, and I didn't even know. And it was like at night, and I went to bed, and I woke up, and I couldn't move. I felt like I was paralyzed. I was like, ah, and I was yelling at my friends with hangovers, "Help me out of bed!" And then I was in high school.
So painful. And again, it's one of those things that you can't really, you just have to wait it out.
They give you that donut. They give you an inflatable donut. I was in high school, and they're like, "Just sit on this." I was like, "Nope, not bringing that to high school. I'm not going to sit on an inflatable donut."
What's this bit that bit at the end of your hand there? That just bone there, like
There's
on your hand.
on
that's
the very
a little
base of your
bone.
hand. I can
It's a
my one
P-shaped
here on one hand is very loose, and I can move it from side to side with my thumb. On the other hand, I can't, but I can actually shift that bone back and forth. You
should be able to shift it a little bit, not too much though.
Oh, no,
this
thing's
quite firmly bound down by ligament.
This thing's rolling around on me.
It is a bone in a tendon, so it's a bone in the tendon of flexicarpial naris, which comes up on that side of your wrist. And so it's a little P-shaped bone, and it's called the P-shaped bone, the pisiform bone, which means P-shaped actually. And then it's attached by ligaments into the other bones of the wrist. So it shouldn't really move around too much.
It does in this hand, and it does in my left hand, and it doesn't on my right hand. And for all you people who are sitting here, I'm naked right now. If you're listening to this podcast, I'm standing naked, showing all my bones in all their glory.
Yeah. Fine specimen.
If you look at my stomach, Alice would call it not interesting.
Well, so is there a ballpark on how many muscles we have, or is there?
No, she said
I don't even know.
230.
And again, it's
I'm sorry.
Muscles are even harder actually than bones because bones are generally elements which kind of come apart from each other quite easily. Muscles are not really. So as you're dissecting the human body, some muscles will come apart. It's like, what do you do with quadriceps? Is quadriceps 4 muscles or 1 muscle?
I would say
it's got 4 heads,
4 quad.
but then it's got 1 insertion into the tibia. It's really tricky. Deltoid, which looks like a kind of fairly consistent block of muscle over the shoulder, but when you dissect it, you find that it's all separate leaves all coming together. So all kind of fibers coming together. So it looks like actually a whole cluster of muscles that have merged together. So I think it's a nonsensical question. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay. Well, is the strongest muscle a nonsensical question, or do we have that?
Well, I think, again, gluteus maximus is the biggest muscle in the body and extremely strong. So your big bum muscle, gluteus maximus.
Gluteus maximus.
So when you're sitting down and when you go to stand up, you've obviously got to raise all your body weight off the ground. And you do that by extending your hip, and it's gluteus maximus that's doing that. And it also
Son of the back muscle, father of the thigh muscle, and I will have my revenge in this life or the next. I am the ass.
I feel like I get all my strength to stand up by groaning every time. I'm like, ugh. Turned into that person.
Yeah. At what age, just I'm asking for someone else, at what age do you start rocking back and forth to get off the sofa?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know. It's terrible, isn't it?
Yeah, I get momentum.
I find the only thing about getting older and kind of having all these kind of aches and pains is that as an anatomist, I take some small satisfaction out of knowing what I've done. So I tore a calf muscle a couple of years ago, and I was like, it went pop, and I was like, oh, medial head of gastrocnemius. And then the other day I went for a run, and I came back and I was like, oh, I got really painful hip, and I was going, oh, that must be tensor fascia lata.
Oh, you must do that all day with people. Like, do you ever have arguments with people and go, there's something wrong in your cranium, you deserve a kick in the gluteus maximus?
Yeah, my mom was an occupational therapist, and she took a lot of anatomy, and she would do that same thing. She'd always like identify what I'd be like, oh, my shoulder. I'm like, all right, Mom, I don't need to know the exact name.
I'm just going. I look. I live in America. My healthcare's run out because of we haven't been working because the industry hasn't been open. So this podcast is the only way I get medical help. So I've got arthritis, right? And it's been on set, and I wake up and my hands sort of clawed over like that, and then I got to do finger sort of crunches like that. Can you explain what arthritis is? Like, the people just tell me I have it, but I don't quite know what it is. And is that a type of thing to do with anatomy?
No, I did my PhD in arthritis at the shoulder joint, but unfortunately
perfect.
I did it in medieval skeletons. So
I have psoriatic. They tell me psoriatic.
Oh, do they? Yeah. So that is it's a type of arthritis that's not osteoarthritis. So it's a little bit like rheumatoid arthritis, but it's not rheumatoid arthritis either. But I mean, arthritis, the arthro bit just means joint, and the itis bit means inflammation. So it basically means a pathology of the joints and inflammation of the joints. And the most common one is osteoarthritis, and everybody gets osteoarthritis as you get older. It's kind of almost inevitable. You can kind of stave it off by keeping fit and making sure that you've got good muscles around your joints. Other options? Right, no.
Looks like you're screwed.
No, because I got told that psoriatic arthritis has to do with psoriasis and the skin and that working into the joints. And I get psoriasis, so it's like, what are you going to do?
It is linked with psoriasis.
And they said it was in my blood, and I've had it my whole life, and now it's coming. But there's probably things I could do to avoid it. But
yeah, like she said, keeping fit, eating
for
well.
another day.
Eating well, keeping fit.
But it is, I mean, a lot of it is about these, these kind of design flaws in the human body, which I was quite interested that you picked up on, because I'm kind of obsessed with this. And when I have battles with creationists online, and I kind of point out to them how badly put together the human body is, and that if you were a divine being, you wouldn't design it the way it is. It's badly designed. I mean, it is, you were talking about the female vagina and the anus being too close
or the male
together.
vagina. I don't differentiate.
It's just, and also that whole kind of sharing of tubes, which I must say is a bit rich coming from a man, because, you have whole tubes that are used for both your reproductive system and your urinary system.
Yeah,
so
but that doesn't bother me. That's just one less thing to clean.
Oh, dear.
But the breathing eating is a bad system. The breathing and eating out of the same.
It's terrible. So I did a program for the BBC a few years ago where the one of the directors of the Science Museum in London said, you've always said how the human body is so badly designed. I want to challenge you to redesign it. So we did a program for BBC 4 called, I think it was called Perfect Body, or in the end it ended up being called Can Science Make My Body Perfect? They always change the titles of things just before it goes on air. And I was like, can science make my body perfect? It sounds like it's some kind of, I don't know, kind of
plastic
surgery. Like a weight loss thing.
Yeah,
in the end, they just called it Wheel of Fortune.
But actually what we did, I worked with a couple of fantastic artists, and we 3D scanned my body. I didn't realize we were going to start with my body to begin with, but we 3D scanned my body and then completely redesigned it. So I had kind of like ostrich legs, which are good for running. I talked to the producers about what I wanted to do about female reproductive system, because I said it is just ridiculous. It's ridiculous that we are these apes that have we come from a family of mammals that actually has it quite easy as far as childbirth is concerned. Most of the other apes are pretty much sorted as far as childbirth is concerned. And then we've developed these ridiculously huge heads, and our babies have ridiculously huge heads. And then the baby's head is pretty much 10 centimeters in diameter, and the pelvic outlet is 10 centimeters in diameter, just a little bit bigger, bit bigger. And it's just like, that's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous thing.
Wouldn't it be good to go to an egg system where we sit on the eggs?
Yeah. Or so when I talked to the producers about it, they said, well, what do you want to fix there? Maybe make the pelvis slightly wider and say that the baby's head would be slightly smaller. And I said, no, go radical, go marsupial. I mean, they've got it sorted.
Pouches.
Honestly.
You want a pouch?
So exciting. Yeah.
Submarine hatch,
you give birth to something the size of a jelly bean.
Yeah.
And then you stick it in a pouch. I mean, it's just brilliant.
Stick it in a pouch, and then it would just duck its head up. You just have you have the pouch in your stomach, would you?
Yeah, I think so. And you wouldn't need a sling then. You keep on carrying the baby around in it.
Because you wouldn't need the belly button because we'd cease to be having umbilical cords. So that would just be all pouch area. That'd be all pouch.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have boobs either. So my redesigned
all right,
me.
let's not bloody change things too much. Yeah, you're onto something good with a pouch, and now it's like I was thinking about sitting in a woman's pouch, and then ducking my head up and sucking on a titty, and then going back into the pouch again.
No, the teats are down there in the pouch.
No, I don't want that.
But what about the breathing?
It was so weird. The finished sculpture was so completely freaky, and they kind of unveiled it for me at the Science Museum. We'd also got bigger eyes, and I had these pointy ears, slightly kind of directional ears, and everything. Right. And but apart from that, there was this kind of spooky similarity to me. And my husband was there at the Science Museum the night it was unveiled, and the producer went up to him afterwards and said, "Oh, when it's going this exhibition in the Science Museum, and after that we'll send it home to you." And my husband was like, "I never want to see it again, never, ever."
He didn't like the ostrich legs on you. He didn't like the ostrich.
Oh no.
Oh golly. I would go more of a kangaroo system. If you're going to have the pouch, I would have a jumping rather than a running thing. I think it'd be good if you're in a bar and you have kangaroo legs and you jump up over to a woman, bounce, 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 and you go, "How you doing? Oh, can I look in your pouch?" No, lovely system.
And a blowhole. We need a blowhole.
Well, Forrest is obsessed with giving blowholes because he doesn't like the ear throat hole. But isn't there a danger you could get dust in it or something? What you need is like a blowhole with like a bit of mesh over it or something.
Yeah,
you need like
filter system.
Wears a mask.
Filter it every
month.
month.
You need that stuff that goes over the top of your speakers.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It's really tricky though, because I thought about that because the whole kind of idea that you basically put food in this hole and then air goes in this hole and then the two passages cross over. Stupid. And that is where what the pharynx is. So the pharynx is the passageway that goes down behind the larynx and then turns into the esophagus. And the esophagus is the tube part of the digestive system that connects to your stomach. So the conundrum I was trying to work out with an ENT surgeon friend of mine was how to separate those two tubes. And we kind of got some way, just kind of sketching it and working it out. And then he went, hang on a minute. What about the liter of mucus that's coming up from your lungs every day? And I'm like, because the lungs have got this self-cleaning mechanism, which is quite clever. So they produce mucus, and then there are little tiny cells with tiny little hairs on them that waft the mucus up to the back of your throat, and you're constantly swallowing the mucus that's come up out of your lungs. So if you separated the digestive system and the respiratory system, there would be like this, a liter of mucus just coming out.
Right. Well, you need that. You'd have to make another hole there if you made the pipes different.
Another hole.
Another
hole.
You
see?
Or,
and then you just...
Or the penis could triple up.
Oh, God.
My solution...
You could be in charge of mucus as well.
My solution is you don't even eat with your mouth. You eat rectally. So you just shove everything up your butt, and then everything gets absorbed that way, and you poop it back out the butt. People would eat less. Obesity problem.
Would you have taste buds in your butt, though? I mean,
no, you don't even want it. Just shove it up there.
Don't be silly, Alice.
And you wouldn't
taste buds.
Dinner dates would be so awkward.
Yeah.
Oh no, dinner dates would be more fun. I think you could get to sex a lot faster.
Yeah. Here comes the airplane.
It was so romantic. He fed me my hot dogs.
If you were laying on your back shoving food up your ass, I think she's probably up for it.
Yeah. Let's see here.
We did we're doing the veins and the arteries.
Oh yeah, cardiovascular.
There's a lot,
veins and
the
arteries.
Tendons, stretchy bits at the end of muscles. Respiratory system is all pretty good. The dangly bit at the back of the punching bag at the back of your throat is the uvula. Sorry to hear about the nodules. I've written there.
She takes good notes.
I've had them twice. I had
you got a 10.
I had nodules back in the day when you couldn't speak for like a month afterwards, and now they do it they do it with like a laser. I think now the second time I had them, but the first time they cut them off with just a scalpel, they shoved up my nose and ran down. Oh yeah. They put a camera up your nose and they put it down. And
there's a little thing inside the tube, and
and then the tube. But they just had to scrape them off, and you had to wait for them to heal back up. And I couldn't. It's when I decided to become a stand-up comedian. I couldn't talk forever, and I was watching a bit of stand-up comedy, and I thought to myself, I think I might do that.
There you go.
So cardiovascular system, you're right, totally spot on. And also, what's impressive is that you worked it out from first principles. So rather than having to learn things by rote, you worked out that if you cut an artery, it spurts blood out, so it must be carrying blood away from the heart. So yeah, good. And
Good
veins carry it
deductive
back.
reasoning.
Capillaries are teeny tiny things. Yeah, really good.
Yeah, I'm all good on that.
So I like these questions where we ask how long everything is, but we're not going to know this either. How many, if you put all the blood vessels, how long? He said 20 meters. Is that another one where you're like going to tell me it's always
I have
different?
no idea. And I also don't know anybody who would have actually done that.
The intestine,
Those guys that dissected the criminals, I figured they would stretch them all out.
the intestine's 2 meters though, right? I got that right? Or did I say 6 meters? 6 meters? 6 meters?
Yeah. They are long, and also they're very variable from person to person. So you have a longer section of small intestine. I'm not quite sure what the lower colon is. That was an interesting one. There's an ascending colon, a transverse colon.
This is a running theme on the show. The lower colon is the bit of my colon that hangs outside my asshole.
And he says we don't need a spleen. He said we don't need a spleen, prostate, gallbladder.
You can live without a spleen, but you have to be on antibiotics for life, because the spleen's actually quite an important part of your immune system. So
what about the gallbladder?
It's kind of useful. Yeah. The gallbladder, you can definitely live without, because all the gallbladder does is store bile. So bile is what bile's like washing up liquid, and it emulsifies fats in your intestines. So it starts to break fat down, and your liver makes the bile, and it just makes it all the time. It's just constantly making bile, and then it stores it in the gallbladder. And when you have a meal, the gallbladder empties itself into the duodenum, and that starts to break the fat down. So you can live without it. You just have to be careful not to have big fatty meals.
Would you say the gallbladder is the most useless of all the organs? The gallbladder, or which is there?
Well, it's all context dependent, isn't it? I mean, there's a lot of your organs that you aren't using at the moment sitting
the appendix.
there.
The appendix, that's a shit one, right? That one's no good.
The appendix is pretty rubbish. I mean, it is, again, part of the immune system, and we think it's quite important early on. Brain is just, a big fatty lump of tissue, and, it can be trained, but it's...
Is the heart overrated?
Overrated.
Well, Aristotle used to think the heart was just he thought that basically... He was, well, actually, no, the other way around. Aristotle thought the brain was overrated. He thought that the heart was the most important organ, and that's probably where thinking happened and emotions happened. Because, I mean, it's quite sensible if you think about it, because, if you're excited about something, your heart beats faster. And so there was this idea for a long time that the heart was where your thoughts and your emotions lay. And Aristotle then thought the brain was just a radiator.
And
does
that come from people going, oh, I'm going to listen to my heart, I'm going to have to follow my heart, and then they actually did think that your heart could think? Is that where
I think so. So I think culturally it's probably there in ancient literature, this idea that the heart is where your emotions come from, certainly.
Didn't they used to think that the brain was like a radiator, like it pumped?
Yeah, that's what you just said.
Yeah, they did say that? Oh, I should have listened.
Literally said it 30 seconds ago. The lymphatics.
That's brilliant. You've learned it very quickly.
I can't believe Jim got the lymphatic system correct. He said it's very lymphatic. What did you say?
Yeah.
Pretty sure of itself.
That's the system that's certain about things.
Yeah.
And lymph nodes can become cancerous.
Yeah. Noids. I like that. Yeah, the lymph system's a really weird one. It's like it's basically an ally of the cardiovascular system. So it kind of drains. There's a lot of fluid that comes out of blood vessels into the spaces between cells, and then the lymphatic system drains that fluid and eventually drains it back into veins. So it starts off with tiny little lymph vessels that gradually get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then there's a really big one that just drains back into veins around the shoulder. But also the lymph nodes are kind of part of that as well. So as this tissue fluid is being drained from various parts of your body, it's passing through lymph nodes, which are stacked full of white blood cells who are constantly on the alert for any signs of infection. So it's a kind of way of just checking that there's nothing coming into the body untoward.
Okay, I've just got to say something that I've just realized. I've realized that the thing in the bottom left-hand corner is now a microphone. Mm-hmm. I thought that was a larger, like, air conditioning unit that was in the background.
Her, yeah.
And I was like, wow, she's really got a big setup there, or some sculpture that she'd paid for, like this big thing. And then I'm like, oh, it's the microphone, and it's closer.
the little purple things actually do look a little bit like a thigh master if you put them in between your thighs and squeeze them. Like, look, you see that?
Oh yeah. Okay. Now that I've
do
seen
that,
a hand go up to it, I know what's happened here.
Yeah, big hands.
Okay, and I think the cavities versus the
what
holes.
Cavities are holes, right? Cavities are holes.
I don't know. I wouldn't include all of those holes as cavities. I don't think. They're kind of they are holes, canals, exit and entry points. But there are cavities which are kind of sealed off and separate within the body. So there's a chest cavity. Within the chest cavity, you've got things like the pleural cavity, which is this kind of bag around the lungs, which lubricates the movements of the lungs. You've got another bag like that around the heart. So kind of so the space inside it is actually really small. It's like a kind of envelope that's then folded around the heart because the heart moves a lot as it's pumping. And then in around the intestines as well, you've got the peritoneal cavity, which is this is another design flaw. So the peritoneal cavity is completely sealed off from the outside world in a man, but it's not in a woman. So the peritoneal cavity, if you go up the vagina through the uterus along the oviducts, you get out into the peritoneal cavity, which is a really bad design flaw because it means that infections can track out of the female reproductive organs into the abdominal cavity. Female water skiers have big problems with that because of the amount of water that's being pushed up all the time.
Really?
And also it means that you can have ectopic pregnancies. So, I mean, it's one of the most bizarre design flaws of the body that the egg is ovulated out of the ovary and it has to be picked up by the oviduct to start traveling down the oviduct and then to get fertilized by sperm coming up the other way if it's a lucky egg. But it can go back the other way and then go and implant in the abdominal cavity. And you just go, why aren't the ovaries inside the oviducts? Why aren't they sealed inside the oviducts? And
you're preaching to the choir here.
It's just a quirk of it's a quirk of evolution, I think, because there are some fish that have their ovaries sealed inside their oviducts.
I'll tell you what, I feel like the human body really needs to, like, I don't like pointless things. Like, I there's a wart that comes up on my thumb that I've tried to get cut out 1,000 times, and it's just there, and they're like, "We'll try to freeze it." I'm going, "It's not free. This thing's gonna outlast religion, right?" It's been on me, right? And it's like, so what cysts? I get cysts under my earlobes. Yeah. Is there any benefit to these things?
Skin tags,
cysts.
No.
All moles and cold sores. Any benefit to these things just apart from being irritants?
Well, a lot of those things are to do with infections, to do with viral infections. So, the viruses are having a nice time. So I suppose as far as the viruses are concerned, you're just their ecosystem.
Right.
But yeah, there's a lot of things that are just, you just think, oh, it'd be better if it wasn't there. I mean, the nerve that supplies the larynx is one that always gets me. That is just ridiculous. There's the nerve that actually supplies the muscles that produce our voice. It goes down into the chest and then runs back on itself. So it comes off a parent nerve high up in the neck, and then it runs all the way down your neck, all the way down to the chest, loops underneath the arch of the aorta on the left and underneath the subclavian artery on the right, and then comes all the way back up again to innervate the larynx. And it's a real pain if you've got surgeons doing thyroid surgery. You have to be very careful to avoid the recurrent laryngeal nerve. So it's called recurrent because it runs back on itself. It recurs on itself. And you just go, it's ridiculous. Why isn't the nerve just coming straight from here and going straight to the larynx? And it's kind of because it gets stuck underneath his artery. When you're an embryo, your heart's right up here, stuck underneath your chin. And the nerves grow out and they grow underneath these arteries, and they do grow straight out in the embryo. And then when the heart descends down, it all gets kind of dragged down. There you go. Well, it should be able to rewire itself, surely. No.
So the things that I've taken away from this podcast is we're rubbish, aren't we?
Bad design.
It's brilliant most of the time. And what was interesting about doing that body program for BBC4 was that every time we kind of identified something and went, right, that's rubbish, let's fix it, we then created a knock-on problem. So it's really complicated. There's all these different systems that have to work together. And if you start tweaking one, then you find that there's a knock-on problem somewhere else. And not only that, of course, you've got a body that had to work as an embryo too. So it had to work in utero, where you're not even breathing air. you're getting oxygen coming in through a completely different route into the body via veins into the heart. And then it's got to be able to switch over at the moment of birth to being an air breathing animal. So some of the problems that we've got are because of our kind of life history, I suppose. And then some of them are just bits of baggage from evolution. And they're really difficult to write out.
Do you know much about the anatomy of other animals, or is humans just your expertise?
Humans is my main expertise, but when I was teaching at Bristol University, we taught medical students and veterinary students in the same department. And so I got roped into teaching on the vet course as well. So that was really weird for me as a human anatomist. And it's amazing how similar other animals are. It's and obviously the more closely related ones. So I've dissected chimpanzees more recently, and they're incredibly similar, down to exactly the same muscles in the arms, exactly the same nerves innervating them, all of that kind of thing. But even dissecting things like dogs and pigs, it's very, very similar indeed. And then obviously the further you go away in the family tree of life on the planet, the more different.
What animal do you reckon is the best put together? There you go. Oh, yeah, that one.
Oh, that's a really good question.
Because you were saying earlier
again,
that,
I think
that monkeys could give birth a lot easier than we can, and
yeah. I think amongst the mammals, the marsupials have got it. I mean, I wish humans had evolved from marsupials. I think that would have been brilliant.
We're not.
So
we're not. No. Of course, I fucking we're primates.
And I know the manatee, but I always remember this because we used to do necropsies on manatees. In my previous job, I was a biologist. Don't worry, we weren't just doing that.
Okay, what was that?
and
I'll tell a story in a second.
And their bones, though, because they had to buoyancy compensate in the water, their bones, they didn't have any bone marrow, or I think almost all their bones didn't, so they were like really dense, but they're also brittle, which makes them very susceptible to getting hit by boats, and that's why when they get hit by boats, they die a lot. So that's all I know about manatee.
It's funny that like Forrest was a marine biologist and he's really intelligent. Just the other day, I was having my hot water system fixed. It wasn't giving me hot water, and so the plumber came out and he opened it up, and we're standing there with our masks in the garage, looking at the open hot water. And he was about to tell me, "You see this fan here or something, right?" I was going, "Okay, right." And he looked at me and honestly asked me this question. Do you have a background in engineering or science? And I'm like, I thought I might lie for a second. I was going to go, sure. Because I thought that might cut some money off. Because if I say no, then he just rubbed his hands together like, well, you're missing a flugelbinder up here in the top corner.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the part of the show, Dinner Party Facts, where we ask our guests to give our listeners and viewers some interesting or little known facts or just anything in that realm. And I think you have some of those, right, Professor Robert?
Yeah, I mean, the recurrent laryngeal nerve was one of them, actually, but we've already done that. But another one that we've kind of touched on is the ear hole. So the ear hole, which is the external auditory meatus, if you're an anatomist, is inherited from one of your fishy ancestors, because obviously if you go back far enough in time, back 500 million years ago, then your great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandma was a fish. And fish don't have ears. I don't know if you've noticed that fish don't have ears. Fish don't have ears. They detect vibrations in water through a completely different system. So when animals started moving onto the land, when we get the first tetrapods emerging, they basically had to cobble together something that would allow them to detect sound waves in air. And when I say they had to do it, it's just happening through mutations. That's how evolution works. But what turned into the external auditory meatus was actually an original gill slit. So your external auditory meatus is the remnant of a gill slit in a very, very ancient fishy ancestor. And not only that, other bits of the gills then get recycled into all sorts of other things too. So you obviously have to invent lungs. So you have to have an outpouching of the gut, which is why the larynx is attached to the pharynx, and we have this association between those two tubes and the annoyance of food going down the wrong way sometimes. And the cartilage that supports the airway is cartilage that in your ancient fishy ancestors would have been cartilages supporting gills. So the larynx cartilage And the muscles that I'm using to talk to you with now are muscles that in your ancient fishy ancestors would have opened and closed
Ancient
their gills.
fishy?
Wow.
Yeah, great
I didn't know
grandmother.
that.
That's funny because my actual grandmother does smell like a fish.
Yes.
Proof.
Awesome. Okay. Well, if like I said earlier, please go to alice-roberts.co.uk to her website, and you can check out all of her books on there. The Complete Human Body, The Incredible Human Journey, Tamed, 10 Species That Changed Our World, The Incredible Unlikeliness of Being. The new book that I did not mention in my notes here. I'm sorry. What is it again?
Ancestors, out in May. So all about a prehistory of Britain through burials.
Oh.
Yeah, and you can find her on Twitter at the Alice Roberts. And the pinned tweet you have here is your BBC Radio 4 series that you just mentioned before too, that I'm sure you want people to listen to as well.
And can you listen to that on podcast as well, or is it just like for people in America?
I think it's just going out at the moment on BBC Radio 4, but I'm sure it will be available as a podcast. Yeah.
Okay, great. We'll watch out for that.
Yeah, please. I mean, like I said at the beginning, you could talk for years about this. We're just roughing the surface.
I think I learned everything.
I
think I'm ready to start lecturing.
Well, great.
Not like at a top university,
Yeah.
like
Community college.
No, not like the University of Phoenix. Like an actual university that's in Phoenix. I could do.
Okay.
Shakespeare Community Theater.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
All right, if you're ever in an alleyway, ladies and gentlemen,